Hello, hi, would be lifesavers. This is your KK sir. Yes, in the last lecture we discussed male reproductive system. Today in this session, in this lecture, we are going to discuss the female reproductive system. So, what are the different organs involved and what are the accessory ducts present in the female reproductive system? So, again I am saying you should remember each and every word of the NCERT biology textbook. It should be fixed in your cerebral cortex. Mind it. So, examiner can ask any way in any from any corner. So, you must be very perfect in each and every word of the textbook, as well as you should have sound knowledge about the diagrams which are given in the textbook. Like these two diagrams have been given in the textbook. So, you should command over each and every part of that particular diagram. So, now we are going to discuss the female reproductive system after this lecture. So, as we discussed the previous questions as in the male reproductive system, in this session also after the lecture, the complete lecture, we are going to discuss the previous questions which were asked in the previous NEET examinations. And after our lecture, up to what extent we can do these questions, we can check ourselves, we can evaluate ourselves, right? Now, we are going to enter into our session, that is female reproductive system, right? Now, so as we know that the reproductive parts or reproductive system which are present in the human being, generally they are located in the pelvic region. So, as in the male reproductive system, the female reproductive system also they are located in the pelvic region. So, female reproductive system. So, generally the female reproductive system contains what are the following parts? Let us see them. So, one by one. So, first one is the pair of ovaries. So, these generally we call these ovaries as the primary female sex organs. These are primary female sex organs, ovaries. And second one is fallopian tubes. Or else, in other words, these also can be said as oviducts. These both ovaries and fallopian ducts, or else fallopian tubes, or else oviducts, we can say anyway. Okay, so these are the paired female sex organs. These are paired in the sense ovaries are 2, and here the fallopian tubes also present in number 2, right? And after this one, uterus. In other words, this is also known as womb. What do we call? It's known as womb, uterus. And then cervical or else cervix, and inside this cervix there is a narrow passage, we call it as cervical canal. Okay, and then vagina. It's also passage, it's not actually external genitalia. Vagina is present inside the female body, mind it. Okay, and then along with these, so external genitalia present. So, besides these parts of the female reproductive system, there is one more part which we are going to be confused, that is functional mammary gland, also treated as a part of the female reproductive system. What is that? Functional mammary gland. Functional mammary glands. How many mammary glands are present? 2 mammary glands present, and 2 ovaries are present, and 2 oviducts are present. So, these 3 are the paired organs in the female reproductive system. Other than these 3, what we have seen, ovaries, fallopian tubes and functional mammary glands, other than these 3 parts, all are present in single. Mind it, okay? And we'll see one by one. First one is ovaries. Here I am writing ovaries. So, these are the paired organs. Paid in the sense 2 ovaries are present in the lateral region of the pelvic area. So, this is the pelvic area, right? This is the pelvic area. So, here is one ovary and here is a one ovary, right ovary, and this is called as left ovary. 2 ovaries are present. Okay, now if you see the size of the ovary, generally this is a length about 2 to 4 centimeters. So fix it in your brain. So its length of the ovary is 2 to 4 centimeters, and it is attached to uterus walls as well as pelvic walls with the help of ligaments. So I am going to draw here. So I am going to draw the female reproductive system diagram here. So this is the ovary, okay, and here is one more ovary, and these are attached to pelvic wall as well as uterus with the help of the ligaments, okay. And now I am going to draw the fallopian tubes. So these are the fallopian tubes. So it is disturbing. So I am drawing the female reproductive system in a simple way. Right. Now these are the two ovaries which are present in the lateral sides of this in the pelvic region. So these are the two ovaries. So these measure about 2 to 4 centimeters in length, and uterus walls and pelvic, these what is this? These are ovaries are attached to the uterus wall with the help of the ligaments, as well as with this ligaments it's going to be attached to the pelvic walls also. So now its position is stable because of the ligaments. These two kinds of ligaments, one kind of ligaments are attached to the uterus walls, and one more kind of ligaments, they are going to attach to the pelvic wall. Okay, so these are the ovaries, and ovaries generally they produce ova. And these ovaries also produce hormones. These are known as ovarian hormones. So ovaries, they do not only produce the ova, and also they produce hormones. These hormones are known as ovarian hormones. Generally, we know that the ovarian hormones are two. One is estrogen, and second one is progesterone. They play a vital role in development of the secondary sexual characters, as well as they are useful in the pregnancy, right? So these are the two hormones which are released by the ovaries. The main function of the ovaries is the release of ova, and second function is releasing of the hormones or secretion of the hormones, right? And these ovaries, whatever the tissue which is present in the ovaries, we call them as ovarian stroma. So generally this ovarian stroma can be divided into two parts. The peripheral stroma is known as cortex region, and middle region is known as medulla, right? Assume that this is the ovary, okay, this is the ovary, and this is the peripheral region of the ovary, this is the peripheral region, and this is the middle region. Generally we call them it as medulla, right? The ovarian stroma, the tissue which is present in the ovary, is known as ovarian stroma. This ovarian stroma is divided into two parts. The peripheral part, the peripheral tissue or peripheral stroma of the ovary known as cortex. So wherever it may be, so if you take transverse section of the kidney, so there will be the cortex, peripheral region always said to be cortex, and middle part is known as medulla generally. So if you take adrenal gland, so even in the adrenal gland, the peripheral region of the adrenal gland is known as cortex, and the center part of the adrenal gland is known as medulla. In the same way here also in the ovary too, Okay, the peripheral region of the ovary is known as cortex, and the middle region, or else the mid region of the ovary is known as medulla, right? Mind it. And so one tissue, one epithelial tissue is going to cover, very thin epithelial tissue is going to cover this the stroma, ovarian stroma. This ovarian stroma is totally covered with a thin layer, that is epithelial layer, mind it. So this is all about the ovaries. You must remember the size of the ovaries and how they are going to attach. So in which place and with the help of ligaments, and to which they are going to be attached. Okay, and then the ovarian hormones are secreted by the ovaries. Generally they are estrogen and progesterone. They are helpful in the development of the secondary sexual characters in the females. Generally we know what are the secondary sexual characters in the females, right? So such characters are responsible. So such characters are developed by the estrogen and the progesterone. This is very useful hormone in the pregnancy time. In the gestational period, in the implantation, the progesterone is going to play a vital role. And these both the hormones, they play a vital role even in the menstrual cycle too. Okay, so these are the ovarian hormones. And ovarian stroma, the tissue which is present in the ovary is known as ovarian stroma, and this is divided into two. So the peripheral stroma or peripheral tissue in the ovary known as cortex, and middle region. So the middle region tissue or the middle region ovarian stroma is known as medulla, right? These are all about the ovaries, right? And next we are going to discuss the fallopian tube or else oviduct. So this is the fallopian tube which originates from the peripheral region of the ovary. So this is the peripheral region of the ovary. This oviduct, or what do you say, this is the oviduct or else fallopian tube. This is going to start from the peripheral region of the ovary and it opens into the uterus. This is the uterus. Generally we call it as womb. So in general language we call it as womb. So this is the fallopian tube. See here you can see the funnel like shape. So when this fallopian tube starts, here this is the funnel like shape, right? So the funnel like or starting part of the fallopian tube known as infundibulum. This is infundibulum, right? And this infundibulum have small finger like structures. These are the small finger like structures. These are known as fimbriae. These are known as fimbriae. So these are just see if you look at my hand. So this is the funnel like shape. This is infundibulum, right? And these are the finger like structures. We call them as fimbriae. These fimbriae are going to collect the ovum which is released from the ovary. So always they move like this. They move like this. So whenever the ova is released from the ovary, say for example the ovum is released from the ovary. So these fimbriae is going to collect this ovum into the infundibulum. So infundibulum like this, it moves through the fallopian tube, right? So after infundibulum, you can see a wider part, a small wider part here. This is known as ampulla. This is known as ampulla. This is known as ampulla. Generally, the fertilization process takes place in the ampulla, right? This is a wider part of the fallopian tube. Funnel-like shape, funnel-like part is in the sense infundibulum, right? Infundibulum opens into a wider part of the fallopian tube. We call it as the ampulla. Generally, the fusion of the gametes, the male and female gametes fusion takes place in the ampulla only. So mind it and fix it in your mind. So sometimes it may be asked in the examination, ampulla, right? And then a narrower part, here the narrower part which is going to connect between the ampulla as well as it opens into the uterus. So this particular part, whatever the small and narrow part which connects to something, is called as isthmus. So this is the small and narrow passage, so which opens into the uterus is called isthmus. So sometimes we can say the fallopian tube is attached to the uterus with the help of isthmus. Now simply we can say three main and major parts are present in the oviduct or fallopian tube. So one is funnel-like shape that we call it as infundibulum. So infundibulum opens into a wider part of the fallopian tube. We call it as ampulla. Ampulla further it opens into a narrower part and it opens into the uterus. That particular narrow part which attaches to the uterus is known as isthmus. So this is all about the fallopian tube. Generally this fallopian tube's length is 10 to 12 centimeters. Fix it in your cerebral cortex. Right? So what is the length of the fallopian tube? 10 to 12 centimeters. How many fallopian tubes are present? 2 fallopian tubes. What is the funnel shape of funnel shape part of the fallopian tube? Infundibulum. So what are the finger-like projections present in the near the oral periphery of the infundibulum is fimbriae, right? So what is the function of fimbriae? It's going to collect the ovum which is released from the ovaries. Okay, now what is the wider part of the fallopian tube? That is ampulla. So fertilization takes place in the ampulla. And what is the narrower part of the fallopian tube? That is the isthmus. So which part of the fallopian tube connects the uterus? Isthmus only. So that is a narrower part and is going to connect with the uterus. Clear? Right. So what is the length of the fallopian tube? 10 to 12 centimeters. You must remember each and every point from the NCERT textbook. That's it. Okay. This is the fallopian tube. Now we are going to discuss this one. What is this? Uterus. We are going to discuss the uterus. So further we move aside. Right, I am going to draw here. Right, this is the uterus. This is the fundus of uterus, and this is the isthmus. This is the isthmus. So here the fallopian tube arises, right? And this is the uterus. So uterus also further they have so many layers in it. So this is what? This is the narrower part of the uterus. This is the narrower part of the uterus. And this is the vagina. Right, this is the structure of the uterus. Now we are going to see. So what is the shape you can see here? This is inverted pear shape, right? So this is uterus. Uterus, generally it is inverted pear shape. Pear shape. Inverted pear shape is uterus is inverted pear shape, in the inverted pear shape. Right, uterus, you can see 3 layers. 3 layers or 3 walls are present in the uteral walls. So outermost wall is, this one is outermost wall. This is outermost one. Outermost wall. This one outermost layer of the uterus, outermost layer, that is perimetrium. So peri in the sense whatever overlaps something. So whatever covers, generally peri in the sense around. The layer which present around the uterus is known as perimetrium. Metrium means here the womb. So this is the layer which is outermost layer, we call it as perimetrium. And the middle layer and thicker layer, and this is known as myometrium. This is made up of smooth muscle, and it plays a vital role in parturition in the sense delivery of baby to the outworld, right? Parturition. At the time of delivery, these smooth muscle which are present in the uteral wall, so that is the middle layer, that is myometrium or else mesometrium also we can say. So this is going to be contract. So ultimately the baby which is present in this uterus, it's going to be pushed through this birth canal. So through the birth canal, this myometrium is going to play a vital role at the time of delivery, as well as whenever the baby is growing inside the uterus. So this uterus is going to be expanded. So in that case also this myometrium is going to play a vital role. So it has a capacity to contract as well as expand. So this is the myometrium, right? And the final one and the innermost layer is known as, this is the innermost layer, this is known as endometrium. Endo in the sense very inside, endometrium. So endometrium is made up of glandular tissue. This is made up of glandular tissue. So it undergoes cyclic changes. It undergoes cyclic changes during menstrual cycle. So the endometrium is going to be so many changes takes place in the endometrium. So sometimes when the fertilization takes place, this endometrium is going to provide so many nutritions and space, everything to the development embryo. So if the fertilization doesn't take place, this endometrium is going to completely shed off from the walls of the uterus and goes out of the birth canal out. So this is known as, we know that this is the menstrual cycle. So this is the entire thing about this is the fundus of the this is known as fundus of the uterus, right? Uterus is a pear shaped, so inverted pear shaped structure. It has 3 layers. The outermost layer is perimetrium and the middle layer is known as myometrium. The myometrium is made up of smooth muscles. So at the time of menstrual cycle, some people feel the pain. So in the uteral region, that is the cause here. The myometrium is because it is made up of smooth muscle, so it is going to contract very slowly. So when the menstrual cycle, they feel a kind of pain very slowly and is going to it's going to reach a peak level. So because the smooth muscle is going to contract in order to shed off this endometrium from the uterus. That's what some people may feel pain in that time only. Okay, right, this is the myometrium. So this is going to play a vital role in the time of delivery. Okay, at the time of delivery, or else we call it as parturition. Delivery means delivery of baby is known as parturition. And innermost layer is known as endometrium. Endometrium, it's a glandular tissue. Generally, it goes so many cyclic changes in between the 28 days. So many cyclic changes occurs in the endometrium. So if fertilization takes place, this endometrium is going to play a vital role in the development of the embryo. If the fertilization doesn't take place, what happens? This is going to shed off from the walls of the uterus and it goes out. It throws out, right? So this is how what about the complete information about the uterus, right? And next here. The narrower part of the uterus, this is the narrower part, this is the wider part of the uterus and this is the narrower part. See here, you can see this is the narrower part. You can see the part of the uterus is very narrow. This narrower part is known as cervix. The narrower part of the uterus is known as cervix, and the canal you can find here. This is the cervical canal. This is the cervical canal. This is the cervical canal. Okay, and generally, the cervical canal opens into a muscular passage. This is the muscular passage or muscular structure, muscular passage. This is known as vaginal passage. This is vagina or else vaginal passage. We can say vagina or else vaginal passage. Vagina is not the thing which appears out. That is not the vagina. Vagina is a muscular tube. It's a muscular tube. So generally, its length about 10 centimeters. The depth or the length of the vagina is 10 centimeters, around 10 centimeters, about. Okay, not exactly this is 10 centimeters in every person. So it may vary person to person, like some people may have 8 centimeters, some people may have 12 centimeters. So generally, if you take average length of the vagina is the 10 centimeters depth, right? So this is the vaginal canal. This is the cervix, the narrow part of the uterus is known as cervix, and the canal which is present inside the cervix is known as cervical canal. And here this is the cervical canal opens into the vagina or else vaginal passage. So vaginal passage along with the cervical canal, these both together forms the birth canal. So this is the vaginal passage and this is the cervical canal, and these both together we call it as birth canal, because the baby delivers through the cervical canal and through the vagina only, so that the baby is being delivered through this canal. So because this cervical canal along with the vaginal passage, we call it as birth canal. So sometimes birth canal means, or else the birth canal contains, or else cervical canal with the along with the vagina forms birth canal. Okay. So the whatever the baby developed here, it's going to be passed through the cervical canal as well as vagina to the outside world, so that the birth is being done through this canal, so that these both the canals together we call it as birth canal. Clear? Right. So this is about the cervix, so uterus and the uteral walls, as well as the layers which are present in the uteral walls, and here this is the fundus of the uterus. This is the fundus of the uterus. Okay, this is all about the uterus. And next, so after this uterus, we have the external genitalia. External genitalia. External genitalia. So external genitalia, generally it has mons pubis, and mons pubis, labia majora, and labia minora, and next clitoris, and next vaginal orifice. Okay, these are the different kinds of parts which are present in the external genitalia. External genitalia means which we can see, which can be appear to the outside. These parts are known as external genitalia. So now we are going to see the mons pubis. Mons pubis is a fatty structure which is just present about the so labia majora. Say for example, assume that this is the labia majora. So these are the skin folds. Okay, these are the skin folds, and these are the vertical lips of the external genitalia of the female organism. Okay, and here mons pubis means, so above these labia majora, there is a fatty tissue. Which we call it as mons pubis. So this fatty tissue is going to cover with the skin, and there is a pubic hair is present in the mons pubis, right? So this is the mons pubis. So labia majora are the skin folds, two skin folds. So they appear in the large when comparing with the labia minora, right? So these are the skin folds. Okay, and these skin folds are known as the labia majora. So under these labia majora, we can see a small minor lips like structures. These are called as labia minora. So two labia minora are present, two labia majora are present. So at the junction of two labia minora, this is the upper junction of the two labia minora. So there is a particular erectile small finger like structure called, so clitoris is present. This is the clitoris. So there is a gap, there is a space between two labia minora. So in this gap we can see two kinds of openings here. So one is, this is the vaginal opening. Opening, or else we can say it's a vaginal orifice. This is the vaginal orifice, means it's a small hole which is opening outside, known as orifice. We call it as orifice. So this is the vaginal orifice. Okay, above this vaginal orifice, we can see a small hole. So urethral opening. This is the urethral meatus. Or else you can say urethral opening. This is urethral opening. So in case of male reproductive system, the urethra acts as passage for the both sperms as well as urine. But in case of female reproductive system, urethra passes only urine. only urine, not the ova, not the ova. So ova do not come through the urethral opening. Now where does they come from? So here, this is the vaginal passage. From here the ova come out of the female reproductive system, right? Now this is the vaginal orifice, this is the vaginal opening. So this vaginal opening, generally it is covered with the thin layer partially. The vaginal passage or the vaginal orifice covered partially by the very thin skin layer, we call it as hymen. This is the hymen. This is the hymen. Generally this hymen tears in some cases. This very thin layer partially covers. So if it covers completely, what happens? The menstrual cycle doesn't come out, right? So this hymen partially covers the vaginal opening. So this is known as hymen. Sometimes this may tears when the girls are playing games, cycling, or else horseback riding, and when they playing some kind of sports, okay, and also in the first coitus. Coitus means sexual intercourse of male and female. So in the first coitus also sometimes it may be tear. So it may tear and bleeds, right? So not only sometimes, after the coitus also some girls may have the hymen retained as it has. So we can't say. So this, the presence or absence of the hymen is not the indication of the virginity. So some people say if there is hymen, she is a virgin. If there is no hymen, she is not the virgin. That is not the case. Here hymen may retain of the first coitus, after the sexual intercourse also some people may have the hymen without damage, okay, and without intercourse also this hymen some cases it may be damaged. In case of cycling, in case of horseback riding, in case of hard exercises, in case of sports, when they are playing, the girls are playing sports, sometimes this may, when they stretch their legs, sometimes this hymen may be tear, right? So we should know that, one should know that the hymen, the presence of the hymen is not the indication of the virginity of a girl. Remind it and fix it in the mind. So this is the external genitalia, this is all about the external genitalia, right? We have seen the different parts involved in the female reproductive system. Now, so one more part we are going to discuss, we should discuss it. So because the functional mammary glands also present in the female reproductive system. Functional mammary glands. Now we discuss the functional mammary glands. I am saying it's a functional mammary gland only. Functional. Non-functional mammary gland is not treated as a part of the female reproductive system. So functional mammary gland, in the sense it must secrete milk. So that is a functional mammary gland. Mammary glands, they also treated as a part of the female reproductive system. So how many functional mammary glands are present in the females? 2 functional mammary glands are present in the female. Okay, so every mammary gland is made up of adipose tissue. Adipose tissue means fatty tissue, as well as glandular tissue. There are 2 kinds of tissues are present in the mammary gland. One is the adipose tissue and second one is the glandular tissue. Now let us see. So this is, assume that this is the breast, right? This is the breast. So here everything is adipose tissue is present. Right. So this is the nipple. And now we see the tissue, the glandular tissue. Every mammary gland contains around 15 to 20 mammary lobes. So how many mammary lobes are present in each and every mammary gland? 15 to 20 mammary lobes are present. Assume that this is the mammary lobe and this is one more mammary lobe and this is one more mammary lobe and this is one more mammary lobe. So like this, around 15 to 20 mammary lobes are present in a mammary gland. So there are a glandular tissue, specialized glandular tissue present in every lobe. So these are known as alveoli. This is known, these glandular cells, alveoli, we call it as alveoli. So this is one alveoli and this is one alveoli. So these are the alveoli cells. Mind it, alveolar cells are different from alveoli lumen. Alveoli lumen is different from alveolar cell. So this is one alveoli and this is one alveoli. Mind it, these alveoli are not as same as present in the lungs. They are entirely different. They are inside the thoracic cavity. This is these alveoli are present in the mammary glands, right? So the female mammary gland contains these alveoli. So these alveoli are not same as they are present in the lungs. Keep it in the mind, fix it in the mind. Right, these are the alveoli cell. So generally these alveoli cells secrete milk. These alveoli cell secrete milk. Okay, and this is the alveoli lumen. So this is the alveoli lumen. This is the lumen of the alveoli. So this is the lumen of alveoli. Generally, this lumen of the alveoli stores the milk. Remember that here you should observe carefully. Alveoli cells are responsible for secretion of milk, right? So lumen in the sense it's an empty space inside the alveoli, So lumen of the alveoli cell, lumen of the alveoli stores milk, right? Stores milk. So you should never confuse. You should never be confused because the lumen in the sense this is the, say if you take the ball, the walls of the ball in the sense it is made up of some rubber like that. So we can compare it as alveoli cell, the wall of the ball. So you can see empty space inside the ball, right? So that is the lumen, In the same way here also, if you take the alveoli, these are the alveoli cells on. This is the empty space which is present here is the lumen of the alveoli. These cells secrete milk and this lumen is going to store the milk inside it, right? So lumen is responsible for the storage of the milk, right? This is the alveoli and this is the mammary lobe. Now you can see, so there is a duct or else there is a tubule. The small tubule arises from each lobe. So this tubule is known as mammary tubule. This is mammary tubule. So these tubules join together to form one more tubule. This is mammary duct. Mammary duct. This is mammary duct. You should remember this sequence. You should remember carefully this sequence because the sequence of this mammary or passage of the milk from the mammary glands to the nipple, once this question was asked in the examination. So the small ducticle or the small tube which is arising from the mammary lobe is known as mammary tubule, and these mammary tubules join together to form mammary duct. Okay, see here also one mammary tubule and here also one mammary tubule, and this is going to form a mammary duct. So these mammary ducts join together to form an ampulla. This is the ampulla, right? This is the ampulla. Ampulla in the sense wherever it comes, so it's a wider region. Ampulla means the wider part of a tubule. The wider part of the tubule is known as, or else tube is known as ampulla, right? So these ampullas, so here also one ampulla and here also one ampulla. So these ampulla join together to form lactation duct. This is the lactation duct. So this lactation duct open into the nipple. So like this, some number of lactation ducts open into the nipple. So from there the milk is ejected out. Okay, right, here you should remember the sequence of this these ducts here. So these are the mammary lobes. So how many mammary lobes are present? 15 to 20 mammary lobes are present in each mammary gland. So each mammary lobe contains alveoli, so many alveoli. So alveolar cells, the cells which are present in the alveoli, they are going to secrete the milk, and the milk which is secreted by the alveoli cell, they are going to store in the lumen of the alveolus, right? And from each and every mammary lobe, there is a small passage, or there is a small tubule arises from the each mammary lobe. We call it as mammary tubule. So all the mammary tubules join together to form one more duct. We call it as mammary duct. So all the mammary ducts join together to form an ampulla, a structure, wider tubule, wider duct region is known as ampulla. So these ampullas join together to form lactational duct, lactatory duct also we can say, lactatory duct, also we can say lactatory duct. So these lactatory duct generally opens into the nipple, and from there generally 4 to 8 lactatory ducts are present in a mammary gland. Okay, this is the complete structure about the functional mammary gland. So generally this mammary gland contains the adipose tissue or else fatty tissue along with the glandular tissue. So these glandular tissue, they have the alveolus cells, they secrete the milk, and alveolus lumen, the milk is going to be stored in the alveolus lumen, and from here, so this particular this mammary gland is going to be divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes. So these are the mammary lobes. So each mammary lobes each mammary lobe has so many alveolus, and number of numerous alveoli are present each and every mammary lobe. So there is a small tubule is going to be raised from the each and every lobule. We call it as mammary tubule. So these mammary tubules are joined together to form one more just bigger than this one. So this one is mammary duct. So these mammary ducts going to be joined to form a wider region. We call it as ampulla, mammary ampulla or else ampulla. So these ampulla are going to join to form one more duct. This is lactiferous ducts or lactatory duct or lactational duct, whatever, lactiferous duct. These lactiferous ducts open into the nipple, and from there the milk is going to be ejected out. So this is all about the functional mammary glands, right? This is the entire female system. Now we are going to discuss the previous questions which were discussed which were given in the previous examinations. Let us discuss. Very simple questions were asked. Right. In the last session, we discussed the previous questions which were asked from the male reproductive system. Now we are going to see the female reproductive system. Now we'll see what kind of questions, up to what extent our lecture is useful to do all these questions or solve these questions. Now first one is, arrange the following parts in the human mammary glands transversing the route of milk ejection. Just now we discussed, right? So first one is mammary alveolus, right? This is the one C. Okay, from mammary alveolus it's going to be mammary tubule, right? So CE, and from mammary tubules mammary duct is going to be formed, A, and from there ampulla is going to be formed, right, D, and from there the lactiferous duct is going to be formed. Now the answer is CEADB. So this is the right answer. C is the right answer. So you must remember the sequence of the ducts or tubules which are formed in the mammary gland. So once it was asked in the 2024 examination. Very simple one. No need to worry. And match. So match the following match the following is also given here. It was right. Say this, mons pubis is the fatty cushion of the cells covered by the skin and hair, right? So this is just present above this is present above the labia majora, right? Next, clitoris. Clitoris is the teeny finger like structure above the labia minora. So we have already discussed. So just under the labia majora there is some skin foldings are there, that is they are known as labia minora. So at the junction at the top of the labia minora, so there is a small finger like structure, we call it as a clitoris, right? And then hymen. Hymen is a thin membrane like structure covering the vaginal opening or else vaginal orifice. Okay, so presence and absence of the hymen is not the indicator of virginity, right? And next, labia majora. Labia majora is a fleshy fold of the tissue surrounding the vaginal. This is the right answer here. So this is the question. Actually, this is the question asked in the NEET examination, earlier examinations. Right, choose the correct answer from the options given below. So these are the options which we have discussed just now. So this is also asked in the 2024 examination. Now the statement, two statements are given here. The presence or absence of the hymen is not a reliable indicator of the virginity. This is the right statement, right? So sometimes the hymen may present after the first QTS, first sexual intercourse. Also some people may have the hymen. So without the sexual intercourse also, some people may lose the hymen. So by back riding of the horse, like cycling, or else sometimes at the time of the menstrual cycle, they use tampons. Tampons means like cotton-like structures which can be inserted in the vagina to absorb the bleed. So to absorb the blood. So when they are inserting the tampons, so that time also sometimes the hymen may be broken, right? So now this is not the reliable indicator of the virginity. This is the right statement. And the hymen is torn during the first coitus only, not the first coitus only. So already we discussed that the hymen may be torn at the time of cycling and in some sports, or else when they jolt in the sense like this, okay, or else sometimes they may be riding the horse. All these times the hymen may be torn, right? So this is the wrong statement. Now this is only the right statement. The first statement is right and second statement is wrong statement. Now 18th one. Which of the following is not a component of the fallopian tube? So fallopian tube, this is not part of the fallopian tube. So uterine fundus, this is not the part of the fallopian tube, right? This is the upper part of the uterus, or else the head part of the uterus. We call it as the fundus. So isthmus, this is the last part of the fallopian tube which joins the uterus, and infundibulum, this is the funnel-like structure of the fallopian tube from where it starts, right? So this is the part of the fallopian tube, and this is the ampulla. This is a wider part of the fallopian tube where the fertilization takes place. So these three are the parts of the fallopian tube. Now this is only the not part of the fallopian tube. So this is the question asked in the 2024 examination. Right, next, given below are the two statements. Now, vas deferens receives a duct from seminal vesicle and opens into urethra as ejaculatory duct, right? So in the last session we discussed this one. So there is a duct which arises from the seminal vesicle. It is going to merge with the vas deferens which is coming from the upside. These both these ducts join to form a duct, and duct, that is ejaculatory duct, which opens into the urethra. So already we discussed in the last session. Now this statement is right. And second statement, the cavity of the cervix is called cervical canal, which along with vagina forms the birth canal. So this statement also right statement. Just now we discussed in the lecture, right? So both the statements are right statements only. Next, hysterectomy. Hysterectomy is the surgical removal of womb or else uterus. Hysterectomy is the removal of the uterus surgically. So that is the uterus, removal of the uterus. Actually, this question was asked in 2015, but it was cancelled by why we don't know. The figure given below depicts a diagrammatic section view of the human female reproductive system, which set of three parts of the C. Here you can see. Now the diagram has been given. Sorry, it was missed. So female reproductive system given, and this particular diagram was given in the examination, and they labeled some ABCD and we have to recognize them, like infundibulum given, ovary given, and ligaments given, and the fundus given. So like this some 4 or 5 5 parts are given and we have to recognize them. So these are the very simple questions asked in the NEET examination. When we feel simple, when do we feel simple? When we go through each and every line and each and every word thoroughly, and we should understand well, as well as we should visualize that particular diagram, right? So then only we can feel that this is very easy one, right? See here, you can see the diagram over here. So these are the ovaries, this is the ligament to which the uterus, these ovaries are going to be attached to the uterus, and this is the fallopian tube. This particular area of the fallopian tube is known as ampulla. This is the wider one, and this is the infundibulum. This is the infundibulum, and these are the fimbriae. These are fimbriae. See, this is the fundus of the uterus, and this is the uterus, and this is the cervix. Up from here to here, this is cervix, this is the cervical canal, and this is the vagina. So this vagina with the cervical canal, so both together they are going to form the birth canal. This is the birth canal, right? This is the birth canal. So the uterus also attached to the pelvic wall with help of the ligaments only. The uterus itself, it's going to be attached to the pelvic wall. Pelvic wall in the sense, the pelvic region which surrounds the uterus is known as pelvic wall. So this uterus also going to be attached. This uterus also attached to the pelvic wall with the help of the ligaments. So this is the direct view of the female reproductive system. This is the lateral view of the female reproductive system. So this is given in the textbook. You should have the sound knowledge about the event diagrams too, right? So here this one is what do you say? This is urinary bladder, and this is the urethra, and this is the uterus, and this is the cervical canal. This is the what do you say? This is the cervical canal, this is the vaginal passage, this is the labia majora, and here labia minora. Here you can see clitoris, this is the anus, this is the what do you say? Rectum, this is the rectum, and from there the large intestine starts. So you should have a very sound knowledge. This is the symphysis pubis, or else we can say mons pubis. This is the mons pubis. Here this fatty tissue is present here. So this is the what? Here you can see the ovary, and this is the fallopian tube. Okay, you should look into the diagrams very carefully, right? This is all about the female reproductive system, right? We'll meet in the next session. Till the next session, have a great day.